But just before the video starts, quick reminder, today at 7 p.m. BST, I wrote it for you on the screen. I will be streaming the new map and we'll be figuring out what agents are good on it. So go into the description below, follow me on Twitch, be there at 7 p.m. and I will see you then. So today we're going to take a look at Fancy United Esports versus FW Esports. A game that happened in the APAC playoffs because it was very interesting because Fancy United are playing the triple controller on Bind, and this has been something that, you know, some of you might remember Fnatic tried a long time ago. They actually tried it with Brim instead of Omen. I must say that I do think Omen makes more sense if you are going to play triple controller on this map, but you know, at first I was like, oh, I'll watch this game because, you know, I want to see what they're doing with it. But then actually, I was pretty impressed with what went on in this game. And I think you'll see some of the things that I mean, that, like, just that it was a good game. It was just a well-played game on the whole. And the way that they used the triple controller, particularly on their attack side, I thought was really good. Their defensive side we'll come to, they struggled with a bit more. But on their attack side, Fancy United, I was actually legitimately impressed. And it starts with round number 6 here. And the first thing we have to know, one thing that I don't think I've ever seen before, but I think is quite cool, is this Viper wall here. Now, many of you might recognize that this is pretty similar to the kind of default Viper wall, but you'll notice that it doesn't like extend back here, right? It's not going the whole length. And at first I thought, is there some kind of crazy thing where they've got this to line up? But then I realized, no, they're just doing it from back here. And, you know, it's doing this. Now, they want this to be open, and that will become pretty important for what they try and do here. So let's take a look at this round number 6 and see how they go. And they're going to go for a short crunch, and they just have a ton of pressure towards short, as we will see in this round, because as they come in here towards short with these 4 players, you can see they've got the chamber set up on shower. Just taking a look at that, we get an Omen smoke down here towards heaven as well. They put in this interesting Viper orb as well. They have a lineup to get this Viper orb like on this box here, and I think, I'm not like 100% sure because we don't quite see it, but I think that this Viper Orb means that if someone was to come swinging from out here on them, it kind of acts like a one-way. In that, you know, they'll be half inside the orb, like if you put it up, which is quite an interesting idea. I'm pretty sure that that's the idea behind it, but we didn't actually see it, so I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, they're about to come in here. They send in the Skydog to clear out some space for them. They put up the Viper Wall. They send in the Omen Flash, as you might have just seen just there. They're going to send in the Omen Flash there, and they're going to start to come in towards short here. They destroy that Prowler, and we get the Omen. You just see him TP across here, and he is really going to be the tip of the spear, if you will, and he's going to just charge in, right? This Aftershock is going off and creating noise, so he charges in behind it. We get an Astroshock here, and that is why they don't want this Viper Wall going all the way across here. They want it stopping at this wall so that, you know, when this Omen comes swinging around here and they get the Astroshock in, so that this isn't walled off, right? So that the wall is still ferrying everyone else behind across, but this Omen can swing in and hopefully someone is in the middle of this Astroshock and they'll get a free kill. Unfortunately, in this instance, that hasn't been the case and the Breach has been able to escape. But whilst that's going on, we're going to get a Sky Flash across the wall as well, and the Neon is going to get flashed by it and die there as well. So that's how the Neon dies in that corner, but as you can see, this Omen just gets really pushed up. This Breach is caught pretty unaware and manages to get 1 kill. Now, they do get the trade back, but they get on into the site, right? This Fade has to just retreat after losing the site, so they manage to get the spike down. Just here, interesting plant location as well, like not right by the box as is normal, but in comes these, and this is again just like, it was clear they had a very good preparation here, did Fancy Esports, because, I mean, you can see in the level of prep of things like this, right? The spike goes here, then they ult from a certain location so that this ult goes basically like that, as you can see, and then they Astra Wall across it as well. So the Astra and the Viper ults together are like perfectly in sync, right? They're both ending like as soon as the Astra ult starts, the Viper ult starts at the same time. You can tell that a lot of prep has kind of gone into this and thinking about exactly where we want to get these type of things down. And so now we have the Viper ult here, and from here, obviously, the very difficult situation for FW is, you know, there's a Viper's Pit they have to deal with, and they're in a 4v3 already. They try and get the chamber with a Prowler, and they try and sneak in, and this chamber actually does, the opposite chamber does manage to get in, but he teleports away quite wisely. And then the Fade is going to be able to sneak into the ult. If we just come to the map, the Fade's going to sneak into the ult and actually find a kill there. So the Viper is like turning around, but they find the Brim there. They have an Astroshock for the plant as well. So both these players just have to try and run away. As they're running, the chamber comes back and gets a kill. But then it is just going to be a save, and a really nice round to start from Fancy. And this A kind of pressure that they did with the triple controller was really successful towards A short, and, you know, heading towards lamps. Very, very strong, and we see a good example of it there. And now let's come to the very next round. And again, you're going to see some interesting, the way this round ends is pretty crazy. We're going to get a very like heroic sacrifice here from FW to try and win this round, but it starts off with a pretty, default look. They have 4 towards B, just checking for any aggression. They got the chamber here watching showers, and the trap on short to make sure there's no aggression there either. And they start to sneak up with the Viper Orb that we saw them just put down there, and the Omen is going to destroy this trap here. I should also note they have a one-way here as well that's put down by their Omen. So they've put a little one-way here, and then they sent the Skydog in behind it, so that no one can peek. They also have an Astra Star there just in case anyone did peek, and then, I imagine this will become a suck, so that they kind of get sucked into kind of a one-way. They know where they are. So quite an interesting idea there, but they start to push up as they follow the Skydog in, and they destroy the chamber trap there. They get this Viper Orb again to kind of give them a bit more space as they reposition it again. The Omen TPs across, as you see, but we get this really good phase seize in response that obviously gives them a lot of information that 2 people are here. The Brim uses that information very well and repositions and obviously knows this Omen is going to come swinging at some point. They get that kill and almost gets the kill on this Viper as well. And then we're going to get a stun you might have seen just to come across here. We get a breach stun from on the other side of the teleport, and the Neon comes through as well and tries to pressure as well. But then when the Neon sees that, the Viper isn't really there to be for the taking and uses the orb to escape, really well played by the Viper. While that's going on, the Chamber's actually taken the space there. The Astra has taken the TP, and the Chamber manages to get that first kill. The rotates start coming in, as you can see. But this Astra does not expect that this breach will still be here, thinking they've done enough to grab those rotations. But now let's take a look at what happens, because they kind of go a bit quiet. Everything goes a bit quiet for a bit, and so the Brim starts to rotate back in case they've stayed the other way. There's only 19 seconds, 18 seconds left at this point. This Sky is going to flash. They know that the breach is probably somewhere here, so they flash in, see that the breach is there, but the breach is going to just make a hero play, right? It looks weird because he's just jumping up here in this corner. Really nice snake bite as well from the Viper, to be honest. But, he's not worried about being flashed and dying, whatever. He just wants to get the ult off because they started to plant, but there's not much time left. So he just wants to get them off the plant. And he does just that. He makes a completely sacrificial play because they start to plant again, but then in comes the Brim ult to try and stop them as well. So this Viper unfortunately can't get out of it. They don't have time to plant the spike, and it will be a win for FW. Crazy end to the round. That breach playing a very sacrificial role there, but gets the round for FW. And now let's come to round number 9, and we're going to get a pretty fast B-take here coming up from Fancy United, and you're going to see that teamwork was just really good on this attacking side, it must be said. So the Chamber disrespects the Omen one way that you might have just seen come in there. So we've got this one way here, but the Chamber obviously pushes past it. Again, we're going to get Viper Orb in there, and then they're going to reposition it back to there once they get a bit further up. But we have this Chamber for now in this position, but they know that this is potential to happen. So what they're going to do is they're going to use the Skydog to clear this out, and so the Chamber obviously has to TP out as the Skydog comes towards him. But then they are going to push in here with the Viper and Omen towards Hooker. As you can see, they get the smoke up there to allow them in. We're going to eventually start to see them come in. So they want to go a bit quicker, right? They send in this Omen flash here. The problem is, though, the Chamber, realizing that they like to put up this smoke, has repositioned his trap to just here instead, and they weren't ready for it, and so it goes off. And so it stops this Omen from really being able to go in super fast, but still they're going to find the time to do it, because they're going to eventually they're going to send in a flash. I'll just come to the map that you're going to see. They're going to send in a flash. The Omen's going to TP here just to the other side away from that trap. They're going to send in the Sky Flash here. And just as they do that, then the Omen is going to TP towards the kind of default box. And whilst that's going on, all three are swinging at the same time, right? Again, incredibly coordinated, even once they got slowed from the chamber trap, right? Like, everything seems like very structured in terms of the timing of when this is all going on. The Omen's TPing to here as these three are all swinging together after the flashes come out. They're going to manage to find this kill on the chamber first, and then we'll play it on from there. So you'll see they get the chamber. The Fade actually beats the Omen in this instance, as the Omen had done that before and found a kill on the Fade, then repositions really well, and as the smoke drops, they find the Viper. But I love this as well, you know, swinging together. This is what I mean. They were playing very well as a team, always swinging together. In fact, the Astra in particular, yes, I can. If you watch this whole game, like, he is like the perfect teammate. Like, he's always swinging. Anytime anyone's in danger, he's always there for a trade. It's absolutely absurd how good, like, how he's always there. Again, they swing together here. They find the last 2 kills. Really nice round from Fancy United. And you see that their attack just super structured in terms of the way it was going. Everything is done together, and they find the round win. And now let's come to round number 11, which is, again, a crazy, crazy round. Really, really well played, as you'll see here. So we get, again, this chamber, like, coming down early, right? That Fade Haunt reveals them. They have a 3-stack, actually, towards this side of the map. So what's going to happen is we're going to get the Skydog coming in as well. You see a Prowler comes out from the other side, and there's going to be a big fight here down for this long position. But eventually they just decide to let the chamber kind of deal with it as the trademark gets destroyed in Hooker, so they start to worry a bit about this, right, and being pinched from both sides. So the Brim and the Fade retreat a bit and leave the chamber with the ult here to kind of deal with it on his own. The thing is, though, they know this chamber is here, and they send out this Astra stun, as you can see on him here, and as he gets stunned, he doesn't think to recall his his rendezvous, sorry, and so his rendezvous gets destroyed then, and then they send in this Sky Flash on him, and now that he can't really escape, he could take the TP, I suppose, but you know, he wants to still fight with the chamber up, but they just run up on him, and again, this Astra just has absolutely massive balls, just running up on him, sends the suck on this side to, you know, push anyone back from trading that as well. In comes the Sky ult as well. They see that the Brim is close, they get the flash, they kill that Brim as well, and just in they go. And whilst that's going on, you know, they've got this smoke in here as well, right? Again, the triple control being used pretty well here, so that this Viper sees the Fade is there, manages to get that kill. The Brim sends out a stun, the Viper ult in response. The Breach is actually going to manage to find the Viper there, just as the ult was kind of, you know, expanding. The Breach is able to find that kill, so the spike gets dropped. Then comes in this Astra ult here, because they know that, okay, it's a Neon, right? Like, the Neon could very well easily be behind them, so they're a bit worried about that. But unfortunately, again, this Astra ult, just the delay on it, they're gonna find the Sky. Then we get an insane trade from the chamber, though, onto that Neon just before the Astra ult comes up. Then in comes the Breach ult, but again, the sort of triple controller, I think, helped them here, because they're both able to hide behind the smokes. As this Astra smoke fades, the chamber starts speaking out, and as I said, that Astra is just running just to your help. Like, never ever scared to take a fight is Yes I Can, which is a great name, by the way. And yeah, they managed to get that round win as well. But that first kill on the chamber was just super impressive, and then from there, really well played, getting all those kills as well. Another great round for Fancy United. But now let's come to the defensive side and round 20. And actually, Fancy United did lose this game, and it was mostly because of their defensive side. Now, I don't know if that's because you know, they're just a better attacking team than they are a defensive team. I don't know enough about the team to really say, but you might think with triple control, you know, that their defensive side might be a bit better, but they had a ton of ideas for their attacking side, it seemed, but just struggled a bit on this defensive side, as we will see here. Actually starts out pretty well for them on this round as well, because they're going to get the Viper ult in towards short here, which is, you know, obviously pretty nice to start off with, and then they're also going to get the chamber here with an op. So, you know, they have pretty early A is just locked down, okay? They send the Skydog through the shower as well, just to tell the chamber what's really there. But that is what's going to happen. We're going to get the Viper ult in here, chamber with an op there. You know, pretty strong A setup straight away to defend, and should be fine. But whilst that's going on, and we've got that Skydog coming through, this Neon has just absolutely ran up all the way and almost got this Sky off guard. Thankfully, the Omen was there, like, sort of ready for this, potentially, and playing with the Sky, and so they are able to find that first kill. And so now, they're in this 5v4 scenario, and, you know, they have A, as I've just talked about, like, on pretty much lockdown for the most part. And so at this point, you know, this should be their round, right? This should be a round that they can win. The Astra is going to rotate, and actually, even though, you know, the Sky and Omen are in some danger now because the rest of the team of FW are coming to pressure them, they deal with it pretty well. They send out the Omen flash, they send out a Sky flash, they send out the Sky ult. They're able to just about get this Sky to live behind that Viper wall there. But at this point, I think, is where they make their mistake, because, as I mentioned, they're in a 5v4 where A is completely locked down. They just, for whatever reason, decide to continue to play a bit more aggressively than I think they should in this instance. You know, I think in this scenario, you know that if they end up just taking the site and getting the spike down, you're in a 5v4 retake. You know, most of the time you should win that, you know, or feel confident that you can win that at least. But in this instance, you know, you have to think, well, you know, if they are all here, we're in a 4v3, right? Like that is a problem. So maybe they were trying to, you know, just scare them to rotate and try and get into this setup. But once you've heard the Viper's ult, you know, go off somewhere and you know, it's not on the site that you're looking at, most teams are probably just going to stick with it and not go towards that for obvious reasons, right? And so you're going to see that this Skye just ends up in a pretty bad position. I first thought when, you know, the Skye started retreating that they'd retreat to elbow, but they actually just stay out here kind of in the open, and you're going to see that they get punished for that when this Viper wall goes down, that they're just caught off looking the wrong way, and so we end up with a death there. This chamber does pretty well to just peek and then get out. The Viper wall goes back up, but now of course they're in a bit more of a sticky situation, right? They do manage to get a 1-for-1 there, but we end up in a 3v3 rather than what could have been a 5v4, and you know, the Viper only has a judge here because they were playing inside the ult, and the chamber has an up. So, you know, now you're not feeling as comfortable about it as you might do if, you know, you were playing with an extra man advantage instead. And we're going to see the FW play this pretty well. They know that Viper wall's there, so they're going to end up in this kind of retake in a nice position. We get the fade ult coming in, as you see just there, but they're going to end up in a pretty nice spot as it starts to come in. They know that obviously they don't want to get separated by this wall, so they decide to stick onto the site. They get a really nice crossfire between these two, and the Brim just watching there as well, and they're going to manage to find these kills, as we will see as it comes in. So yeah, they send in the C's there towards the chamber to make sure he can't push anytime soon. But then eventually they are going to try and come out. But as I said, this crossfire between the chamber and the fade here is really, really nice. They don't know which way to look, and they find those kills. And now finally, let's come to the last round. Again, another round that they really, really should have won. But again, here are some of their defensive ideas that they had with the triple controller. They want to put this Viper orb in here, and then they're actually going to refresh it. They get very aggressive with their smokes towards short, and they're going to have like an Astra suck in here, just kind of, you know, once they try and beat this smoke, they're going to suck them and then try and swing on them from there. And that was kind of a general idea that they had. For whatever reason, like the timings felt a bit off. You can see where this Viper is playing here and kind of playing aggressive towards this box. You see they refill the Viper smoke with the Omen smoke instead. This was something that they were often doing, but for whatever reason, this Viper, anytime they did this swing, it just seemed a bit off. It just seemed like it wasn't quite there. So yeah, you see that they keep refilling this smoke. They keep them trying, you know, they try to keep them behind this smoke. But we're going to see that as the Prowler and the stun comes in, the Astra is going to suck, thinking that they're going to push right behind that, but actually they come off the breach. But the Astra somehow manages to swing and get 2 kills themselves on that as they're running through that Viper orb. So, you know, they do still manage to get 2 kills. They end up in a 4v3. So it still ends up going pretty well for them. But yeah, they will be kicking themselves for this round. The Astra does the right thing, right? Like just retreating. Again, you're in a 4v3. So this time they did what I kind of, you know, wanted them to do last time. So, you know, they do that, and they're going to find that they get success with that because FW, you know, are now having to push in, and they actually even find that next kill as well. So they end up in a 2v4. And yeah, how they lose this round is just pretty tragic, to be honest. This Brim does the right thing as well on the side of FW. He's going to be like, we're in a 2v4. I need to just go make a play before we plant the spike or anything like that. The time obviously is ticking at this point, but yeah, this Brim just goes for it, right? Like you don't really have much else. They do get the spike down. Again, this Brim is just pushing as hard as he can. The Astra does well to see like, oh, that's not the case. But then this chamber, just as he's about to take that shot, actually dies to the Brim there. But they have a double flank with the Skye and the Omen. And so, you know, it still should be a pretty favorable position, right? And they're actually going to see where this fade is. You see that the Skye just fires a couple bullets there. The fade sends out the C's just to try and slow them down and turns around towards this Astra. But again, this Astra is going to manage to win this fight. They end up in a 3v1. The spike isn't planted for the Brim at this point. It should be pretty easy from this point. The Astra even sees him and lives. They send out a flash. Really well turned, to be fair. And this was like the one real massive instance in the game where their timing in terms of the swings was off, right? Because the Omen wants to stick the spike. The flash comes out here. The Astra has to drop down, though. And because the Brim of where he is in this corner plays this exceptionally well, as we see, like the turn of the flash, finds that first kill there, swings on the Astra, finds that kill as well. The Omen tries to stick the spike for a little bit, but then also swings there. Ends up with the Brim ace. Really well played by that Brim, I must say. But yeah, like they just got cost them you know, one of the few times in this game that their timings in terms of swinging together was a bit off. You know, this Brim went absolutely massive and cost them. So what do I think of the triple controller on Bind? Well, I think that looking at Fantasy United, they did have some pretty good ideas, and I think you could definitely take your opponent off in kind of a one-off game. I think that this would be a pretty good comp to kind of run as, a bit of a surprise comp to take off your opponent. And I think if, you had some defensive setups that you were really comfortable with, you could just steal some of Fantasy United's attacking ideas. It could really work and surprise quite a few.